You think you could kill my girl wizards? Take it back! Take it back! Hey everyone, it's Nerdphil, and today I'll be showing you my analysis on the cards that have been released so far for World of Spark to help you in the limited environment. I'll be doing the classic grading system of S, A, B, C, D, and F on the cards specifically for pre-release and draft, specifically in that order. I'll be reviewing Uncommons Planeswalkers in another video, so look out for that. I'll also be doing a final count of the top 10 commons and top 10 uncommon cards you should definitely get for your pre-release once all the cards have been released. Before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button to help me make more videos. Flux Channeler. This card is pretty good and limited, but you have a better chance of making use of this ability in draft, so it gets a little bit better there. Agur of Bolas. Agur. I don't know how to pronounce that. Someone correct me in the comments. This card is fine as a 2-drop, but you have to show your opponent the instant or sorcery that you picked up so they can play around that, which makes this card a little awkward, but it's still pretty good. Tybalt's Rager. This card has decent stats for 2 mana, but the real power comes from the pump ability. This makes it that if you're flooded, it's not the worst card to pick up. Kiora's Dambreaker. In pre-release, you'll probably be playing a lot of Planeswalkers, so the proliferate on this card is fine. But you might not go this strategy in draft, so this card makes it for a 6-drop. On-Crop Invader. This card is great as a 3-drop. It hits really hard, and if they don't block, you can sack a lot of creatures and hit the face even harder. This is a common I would be very happy to play as my 3-drop. Crush the Set. Now I think 4 mana for a counterspell is a little bit too much, but if you're all in on the amass strategy, which I think is very good in a limited environment by the way, then this card is pretty good and you'll be paying 4 mana happily. Liliana's Triumph. Now 2 mana instant spells are always good. They've even seen play in standard. You might not be forcing them to discard, but again, removing their weakest creature for just 2 mana, still worth it. Ajani's Pridemate. You have to build this card around a little bit, and there's not really a life gain mechanic shown so far in the limited environment, so expect this to really stay a 2/2 most of the time. Eternal Taskmaster. Now even though this card enters tapped, it's got a fantastic ability and a great body to boot. Your bombs aren't really gone with this creature. Woo, Loyal Companion. Now in pre-release, you'll probably find better 4-drops to play and you won't really find a lot of ways to activate its ability. In draft, if you find a lot of ways to proliferate, this card is a force to be reckoned with. Gideon's Triumph. Now this is a pretty good removal spell, but it requires your opponent to attack or block with the creature. Still, it's a really good removal spell. No Escape. Counter spells for 3 mana are always welcome in a limited environment. This card will hit a lot of Planeswalkers for pre-release, so you'll find a lot of good reasons to play this card. In draft, you might see other people go different strategies, so this card gets a little bit weaker there. Davriel's Shadow Figure. Making the opponent discard for 4 mana is a little bit too much. You're probably better off playing a 6 mana removal spell. Burning Prophet. This card will trigger with all the Planeswalkers you're playing in pre-release, but in draft you might go a different strategy, so it gets a little bit weaker there. Paradise Druid. Now this card is a great card because it's an almost guarantee ramp. I say almost guarantee because 99% of the time you'll ramp with this card. If the opponent wants to use a removal spell on this card, then they really have to worry about the bigger creatures you're going to be playing faster. Arlen's Wolf. Now by turn 3, your opponent will already have played something that can probably block this creature, so this is really a 3/2 for 3. Grim Initiate. Now this card is a fantastic attacker and it gets better in a mass deck. Definitely play this card if you see it. Herald of the Dreadhorde. Now a 3/2 body that dies and leaves a 2/2 is pretty decent. If you're all in on Amass, you just make your Amass army token creature bigger. Relentless Advance. Now while this card goes directly in an Amass deck, it's still a lot to pay for 4 mana. Rising Populace. Now this card makes all your trades or even losing combat pretty decent. You can expect this card to grow big at a decent pace. Lazotap Plating. Now this card is a great way to protect all your creatures, and it just gets better in an Amass deck. Lazotap Hippo. Now vanilla cards should be what they're worth. You want to be at least getting a 5/5 for 5 mana. You can go ahead and pass on this Hippo in draft. Invading Manticore. Now this is a lot to pay for 6 mana, but it goes in an Amass deck, so it makes it okay. Consider playing bigger bombs if you have them. Giant Growth. Now this is a great combat trick no matter what situation you're in. Take as many as you can. Lazotap Reaver. This is a very good 2-drop, and it only gets better if you're in an Amass deck. Do not pass on this card. Vivian's Grizzly. Now, this is going to be a powerhouse in Limited. You'll very rarely whiff on this card's ability. Play and take as many as you can. Teo's Light Shield. The +1/+1 counter ability on this card is fine, but it's an 0-3 for 3, so it's a really bad wall. Erratic Visionary. Now looters are the best way to win and stall the game in limited. It's also got decent stats for blocking, so take as many as you can. Honor the God Pharaoh. Now getting rid of extra lands or creatures you can't play is a fine spell to play as your non-creature spell. But for 3 mana, I'd play this card as a 1-of if you have multiple copies. Kaya's Ghost Form. This card gets your best card back for 1 mana. This means you can abuse the minus abilities of one of your Planeswalkers. I wouldn't be that surprised if I saw this card in standard play. Naga Eternal. Find a better 3-drop if you can. You want a 3-3 for 3 at the very least. Wanderer Strike. Now I wish this was an instant speed card, but it's still a pretty good removal spell card. It does get better if you're all in on Planeswalkers. Teferi's Time Twist. This is a decent combat trick to save your creatures or your Planeswalkers, but you're more incentivized to save your creatures. Ob Nixilis' Cruelty. This is probably your best limited removal spell in common, so play as many as you have. Nahiri's Stoneblades. This is a decent combat tricks, but there are better ones out there. Samut's Sprint. Now this is a fantastic combat trick and a great way to end games. The Scry 1 is just extra spicy. Vraska's Finisher. Now this card is a good way to kill an opponent's creature if they think blocking is safe. Totally Lost. Now 5 mana is a little bit pricey for a tempo card, but this can end games if you're just removing 1 blocker from the opponent's side. Cruel Celebrant. It's an Aristic card that you can play really early. Colors on this cards are a little bit restrictive, but if you're definitely in white and black, you should definitely play this card. Angreth's Rampage. Now even though the opponent gets to choose depending on the mode you pick, this card is so versatile that it's definitely worth playing. Death Sprout. This card is a really strong removal spell, and you should draft as many as you can or hate draft it even. Ramping and getting rid of land cards that you don't want in your deck is something you really want in limited. Dovin's Veto. Now playing Negate in limited is usually frowned upon, but since this hits Planeswalkers, it's meh at best. This will definitely see sideboard in standard though for control. Invade the City. Look, this card isn't even good in an amass deck, so just pass this card right along. Gleaming Overseer. Now this card is a mass deck MVP. Don't force the deck if you don't have it in pre-release, but you can definitely build around this card in draft. Leyline Prowler. Ramps, Defense Will, gains life. Yep, this is one heck of a good card. I hope this information helps you a little bit for the pre-release and the draft environment. Again, my next video will be covering the uncommons Planeswalkers. Let me know in the comments below if you disagree with some of my grading, and be sure to explain your reasoning why. I love to converse with you guys. I'm really excited to show you my zombie deck tech that I've made for Golgari zombies and I've made for Rakdos zombies. By the way, I totally called it that there were going to be zombies in my last other video, so I'll see you next time for your Nerd Fill to cover more on War of the Spark previews.